and welcome to another episode of Leslie Said What? Yes, y'all. Can you guys believe it? We are in season 3, like I had said before, but get this, guys. You know how I said I was going to do the Storm That Built My Story series? I said, okay, I'm only going to do this for a few weeks, right? With like 4 ladies, and that's how all it was supposed to be. Well, y'all, that is definitely not the case. We is just continuously going and going and going. Like the Energized Bunny of podcasts. Legit. We just keep going with these stories. So many women are reaching out and wanting to share their story. Because, you know, guys, if you don't know this, sharing your story is actually therapeutic and very healing. So if you are one of those people that want to share your story, please let me know. We are now booking, guys, all the way out through June. On people who want to share their stories. I'm telling you, I did not mean to do it. Like, I meant this to be something that was just temporary. But hey, God bless it. Thank you, Jesus. I mean, because this is great. I'm loving hearing people's stories. So tonight, oh my goodness, we have my former roommate and my bomb.com friend, Miss Nesiya fan. She is going to be on here tonight. And her story involves this, guys. Nesiya's story is about not letting your past hinder your purpose, getting through sexual assault trauma. Whoa, right? Like so deep, so deep. So this is going to be really good. If you have not watched one of my previous episodes where Nesiya was a co-host, got to go back and look at those. Now, guys, remember, if you ever want to catch up on any of the Leslie Said What episodes, whether it's from the Storm That Built My Story series or a previous episode, you can always catch the replay at www.lesliesaidwhat.com, or you can listen to the Apple Podcast or the Spotify podcast. Okay, I said podcast. Y'all, okay, I just made a pie and I can smell it. It's an apple pie over there on the other side of the curtain, and I can smell it. So see, you heard me say podcast. See, I'm thinking about pie, y'all. It's on my mind. And y'all, I bought the good whipped cream, the Cool Whip, the Cool Whip in the container. Yeah, I bought that to go on top. So I'm a little bit excited about my dessert tonight. Okay. I ain't a fan of the spray kind. All right. I don't know about y'all. Those of y'all who like the spray whipped cream, like, what y'all be doing? I'm not a fan. Okay. I got the tub. Okay. The Cool Whip. All right. I'm just saying, put that out there. Anyway, that was like a commercial break. Anyway, but like I said, always feel free to catch the replay or listen via podcast. Okay. So, also, before I was about to introduce our guest without even telling you what you guys are supposed to do. You are supposed to join the conversation, because the more people that join the conversation, the more people we see that are getting touched and blessed and whatever else you want to call it from this, the better. So feel free to join the conversation. All right. And be, like I said, and also say hi or hey in the comments. All right, here we go. So without further ado, we're about to hear Nesiya's story. So here we go. Introducing Miss Nesiya Fan. Hey, Ness.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, and I want to say thank you for having me on your show tonight. I appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you being willing to share your story, because this is definitely something that people need to hear about, know about, be aware of, especially nowadays with the Me Too movement and things like that. People need to be aware. So right. I'm so glad we are talking about this. So guys, tonight we are talking about getting through sexual assault, not letting your past hinder your purpose. Ness, what an amazing topic. Ness, you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So for the folks out here, I am Nesiya Fan. I do go by the name of Bee Fly, y'all. I have the Beautiful Butterfly radio show that I do as well. And so some people know me by Bee Fly, some people know me by Nesiya. If you went to Gardner Webb, me, but don't tell nobody about that. All those great things. And so so I'm just me. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I have a daughter 8 years old that I am super, super proud of. She is like my biggest fan, my biggest inspiration. So, and I'm just out here, I'm an educator as well. So working with the kids, I'm always trying to get involved with the kids because, hey, somebody got to do it. So.
Somebody got to do it. I Unfortunately, it is us. No, I'm playing. Oh yes, we love the children. Well, hello, Crystal. Thank you for joining us.
Right.
And also Gwendolyn, thank you for being here.
Yes.
Okay, so Ness, let's rip
Yeah.
off the Band-Aid, girl. Go
Okay.
ahead. You just
Okay.
do you, and we gonna follow along.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right,
So
girl.
where you want to start at? We'll start from there.
Okay, so basically what the I guess you could say the flow of things have been is people just started sharing their story,
Yeah.
and then I pull questions from it as
Yeah.
well as questions from the audience, and we just converse about it in hopes
Yeah.
of being a blessing to the audience.
Absolutely. So my story began my freshman year of high school. So um several years ago. I ain't gonna tell my age, but so several years ago, in ninth grade, I was a cheerleader. And just starting on the JV team, and freshman first year of high school. And so my encounter started with an older student. I believe at the time he was a senior. Um, and so that's where my sexual assault began with him. And so it was a very, oh, wow, um, heavy time. And so if people don't know about sexual assault, so basically sexual assault is when somebody forces you to do something against your will. And so when you're at a certain age, it's also categorized as sexual assault. And so at the time, I believe that I was 14, and I believe that he was 17 at the time that it happened. And so what's interesting is that I didn't know him really well. I knew him around because he was quote unquote the famous football player on the varsity team at the time. And so he was in a class that I was in. And so at that time, I was very shy. I know some people like, this is shy, but I was very shy to myself, even though I was on the cheerleading team. I wasn't like the popular girl in the school or anything like that. So it just generally began of him befriending me. And so, sending me letters, passing through class, like, oh, what you doing this weekend? The first time I'm like, why is this dude talking to me? Because you thinking, yeah, when you're in school and you got the popular kid, you're thinking like, why is this person even noticing me? Because most of the time you don't go noticed by certain people. And so and other than that was pretty much it. I never saw him outside of school. We never talked on the phone. We never exchanged phone numbers. None of that. And so one day during the change, I think it was lunch, and he asked me to go and take a walk with him. Mm-hmm. And so on that walk led to an area where the sexual assault occurred. And so when that happened, actually a teacher was coming through the area. And so that teacher at the time, we both ended up going to the principal's office. So what the interesting part that gets people about this story is that you would think that the person who did the assaulting would be the only one getting suspended from school. But in fact, he wasn't. I too was suspended from school at the particular time. Yeah, for 14 days. 14 days was my suspension.
He sexually assaulted you, and you got suspended in addition to him.
Yeah. So in this time of all this going on, of course, I'm having to call my mom and tell her about what's going on. And so she, of course, comes over to the school. And so during this time of my suspension, she's going back and forth to the school because we all know, this is not fair, And so her having to, seek legal counsel with that. So we ended up having to, of course, take out charges, go to court. There was investigators, people examining my clothes. Very, very, very a surreal experience. It's something that you used to see in these movies where things takes place, but to
Yeah,
actually experience that at 14, definitely impacted me
of
in a
course,
hard way. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, especially like you're saying, seeing something that usually is something that you see on TV, like
yeah,
on a criminal show or some sort, and then something now that you at the age of 14 is having to deal with on a really real level.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
insane. And I honestly, I know this sounds crazy, but a lot of people don't realize a lot of girls don't press charges. So I applaud you for pressing charges and standing up and advocating for yourself.
Yeah, I don't look the type of mama I have. I don't think I don't think it would have went any other way. But like you said, yes, there are so many girls who do not press charges. I've talked to numerous of girls over the years whom, in situations like these, they do not charges. They press charges because of the fear that comes from it.
Mhm.
And the and the experience that comes with being in a school where things like that take place, and what you're going to have to experiencing. So back then I got a taste of what they would call early bullying, what kids experience now. But back then, yeah, I definitely got bullied once I returned back to school, because I was looked at as a liar, somebody who was trying to get him in trouble.
Yeah.
I had a lot of people who, you shouldn't go to court, you shouldn't, speak against him. It was, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and the thing is, Nesiya, so what based on what you're sharing, what I want people to understand is a lot of times girls blame themselves. I must have said something, or I must have gave him some type of
Yeah.
inclination
Yeah.
that I was interested. They tend to blame themselves.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
find that to be true? Did
Oh
you?
yeah. I thought that perhaps had I not engaged, just engaged in conversation with him, had I, just ignored him like I had before, we even, started communicating just in class. And I thought, yeah. So I did think that, had I not even had those conversations of just, hey, basically
Yeah,
of what it was, then maybe it wouldn't have happened. And I questioned myself a lot, like, what was it about me to be that selected person,
yeah.
for him to, want to do that. So
Yeah, no, I completely
yeah,
understand. And now, and I know you said your mom was big on advocating for you and
yeah.
different things like that. How did you find from the student perspective? Like, did students tend to side with him because he was popular? Did they blame you? Did they say? I know you said they said you were a liar, but did
Yeah.
they compromise your character at all? Like,
Oh yeah. What was interesting is that being on a cheerleading team, and I hope young girls who are out here listening to this, as a teen, when you go through things, they say as an adult you'll find out who your friends are, but
mhm,
as a teen, when you go through stuff, you will absolutely find out who your true friends are. So I was on a cheerleading team, right? So you would think that I would get this outpouring, stuff from the cheerleaders. No, I have my best friend now, Kelly. I had another guy um, by the name of Al who was there. He was in band with me. And so um, that was it. When I would walk in the cafeteria, people would turn their heads the other way.
oh my god,
Nobody wanted to eat lunch with me except Al. I think me and Al pretty much ate lunch every day, just me and him, or because I don't think me and Kelly had the same lunch period. I had a girl who wanted to fight me on a daily, because she was the cousin, or
of the
claimed to
guy
be
who
one of
assaulted
his cousins. Yeah. And so She tried to bully me in gymnast, but that didn't work. I'm not about that life.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. That's not.
but yeah, it was traumatic. It was hell, so to speak, going to
Yeah,
school after that, after it happened, because and you would think that people would have compassion, for something like that has happened. But when you're in those situations, and you're dealing with somebody who's looked at, as that popular person, um yeah, everybody just knew that I was trying to, I've got comments like, you're ruining his career, of going off playing football, all these different things. Nobody was like, okay, he's affected you.
yeah,
It was, everything was predicated towards him and how he felt and how I was ruining his life. So
that's insane.
yeah,
That's absolutely insane.
yeah.
Now, how did this affect you in the long run? Obviously, this was something that happened when you were 14, but is this something that you still battle with? Something that still tends to come back to mind?
Um, Not so much now. I would say I do think about it every now and then. So the thing about it is that even going back a little bit to when I was 14 when it happened, it was right at near the end of the school year, I believe. So we were coming up on summer. So I didn't go outside pretty much the whole summer. I didn't want to go anywhere. Like my cousins would ask me, let's go. We would have like this big downtown festival. And so they would ask, like, come on, let's go. I'm like, no. So I stayed in the house. And I stayed in the house and I wrote in my diary about my feelings and about just how I felt, dark, because I felt like every time I stepped outside my door, there was this sign on me that told everything that had happened about me.
Yeah.
And so I felt like, people were always looking and whispering, all of those things.
Yeah.
Now the interesting part about this also is that the guy who sexually assaulted me, his grandparents went to our church.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Bro.
And he never came to church with them or anything like that. However, when the situation happened, and mind you, I grew up in the church with his grandparents for years. He was kind of like their quote unquote estranged grandson. They really didn't have a relationship with him. But never once did they come to me and say, are you okay?
Yeah.
We're sorry. Nothing. They pretty much quit speaking to me as well during that time. And matter of fact, they still don't. I think I've seen them over the years, and I think I saw them. The grandmother, she'll speak now, but the granddad still doesn't speak, which is very interesting because I just laugh. I really do laugh at myself, and it's not laughing in a funny way, but it's laughing because
it's a coping
of God's grace,
yeah.
of what He's brought me through. And so it's like, you can't harm me. You can give me the nasty looks. You can give me whatever you want to give me. But it has no effect on me. So that's where I'm at now. Now, yeah.
And that peace that surpasses all understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is amazing. But what's interesting is the fact that, again, you were the victim. You were the person who were sexually assaulted. And it seems like even down to the people who you went to church with, the people that you went to school with, the majority seem to isolate you as if it was something that you caused to happen.
Oh, definitely.
And that's what a lot of times that happens a lot. And what a lot of girls don't realize nowadays is at any point in time, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, y'all, and I'm sure, Nesiya, you can agree, that especially amongst my high school girls, one thing I always try to make sure they're aware of, you can change your mind and say no at any point. And it is still not your fault.
Absolutely.
Some people are like, oh, well, you shouldn't have got that far, or let him get that far, or let the situation get. No, at any point that she says no, is no. And like, I know that's like now become a cliche, and something that's always associated with this is, oh, no means no. No. what people don't understand, know at any time, at any point, whether it's like you're already unclothed, you're already naked, you're already about to engage, and you decide, no, I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
No is no. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And it's still
Yeah.
not her fault.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, I think that, and I hate to hear people say they shouldn't have got themselves in that situation, in that predicament. Who goes on a walk with somebody, or who goes on a date with somebody thinking somebody's getting ready to take advantage of you?
Exactly.
If we had those red flags and signals, I'm pretty sure the situation would be different. But yeah, I definitely didn't think that was going to happen in itself. And so, when people say that, I think you have to look at the full picture. Nobody puts themselves in a predicament to be harmed and violated against their will. And like you said, even if you're at a point where at a particular time you're on board with what's happening, in that moment you say, stop, this is not what I want. That's where
Back
things should
it up.
end. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Back it up. And so
Yeah.
a lot of people are like, well, it was too late, or I had changed my mind.
Mhm.
And what a lot of people misunderstand is what consent actually is.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
time that consent mindset is skewed in what society says, or what people say, or what's accepted, or what makes sense. And none of that matters. What matters is how she feels as a female.
Yeah.
Like, I said no, it's no, let it be. And I know that, it goes both ways and different things like that. Lots of other factors sometimes come in.
Yeah.
Now, what a lot of times I often hear of the majority of my students that I hear is like, oh, they were in a drunken situation.
Mm-hmm.
They blacked out or they passed out, and a guy took advantage. And, the crazy thing about nowadays is, yeah, okay, there's been drinking since even way back when we were in high school and stuff.
Yeah.
But now you have all these like lethal drugs and different things that go on where you will have no memory.
Yeah.
All she knows is that her private area is sore. That's all she knows. She has no idea who did it. And this is something that if your young ladies are paying attention, or if you know a young lady, guys, for anybody who's watching, please pass this along. If she feels that in any way she's been sexually assaulted, she needs to go to get a rape kit. I know she may feel gross and disgusting, and I just want to take a shower.
Yeah.
That is usually their first instinct, is to want to take a shower. Do not take a shower, because you're destroying the DNA evidence.
Absolutely.
Always go straight to the emergency room and tell them that you want a rape kit.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Don't let anybody change your mind. Don't let anybody say, oh, get cleaned up first. No, because you have no idea. Like Nesiya had said, with her clothing, they were examining her clothing for DNA evidence. They were examining all the different situations, the different things she was wearing, et cetera, for DNA evidence to prove you are right. Because honestly, guys, I know this sounds terrible and it's an age-old bad thing, but it is what it is. It's your word against his.
Absolutely. And it's so important in that time span, when forensic, as they're called, shows up to take samples of your clothing and all of that. What we see is, like you said, people have a tendency to take a shower, they throw away the items, all of this stuff, and all of that is vital information to prove your case, to get things done. So for those out there who are experiencing that, yes, make that first step in calling the authorities. Like you said, go to the emergency room, go to the hospital, go to the police station if need be. The interesting thing is, 1 out of 4 women have been sexually assaulted. That's a lot.
That is insane.
And so you have a number of women who sometimes don't realize things are sexual assault until later on, or what may have you. In this particular case, I actually found out it was several years later that I wasn't the only one. But yeah. But the other girls never said anything. They never said anything, nor did they ever press charges. So nobody ever knew about them. So yeah.
And it's sad because what ends up happening is that you are the person who ends up having to deal with the repercussions of it, because it's like, oh, well, I'm not saying anything. Like the other girls, like you said, well, I'm not saying anything, so you're more than welcome to say something. But they don't realize that puts you in an island by yourself. Again, now it would have been more, I guess you could say, reputable or been better for you if they had come forward as well, because then it shows that, hey, there's a pattern that's been established.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm so glad that you're sharing this. Thank you again, like seriously, for sharing this, because my students like have no idea. And like you said, a lot of these women, there's 1 in 4 women who are sexually assaulted, and a lot of them don't recognize the fact that it's sexual assault.
Yeah.
They think that it's like this all out restraint situation where you're being held down and sexually assaulted, but that's not the case. It can be something as simple as, oh, well, he touched me and then I just said fine. I felt like I didn't have another choice, so I just did it.
Yeah. And you know that the thing about it, and you were asking me about how it affected me. So because I want a lot of people to see the transition over time. And so during that time, I was very depressed, very, very, very depressed about what was going on. And so in that, I did I secluded myself. I gained a lot of weight during that time, and just didn't want to be around people. And so my trust was just, pretty much out of the window. And so I carried that. I probably carried that weight until my freshman year when you met me. So when I came to school, I felt like I had the trunks just like fell off my back from the weight that I carried, from the age of 14 to the time I went to college. Because just of the things that I had to experience and encounter in that time. And so one of the things that helped me to get out of that depression was to, of course, pray about it, but also to remember that it wasn't my fault. And I know that sounds so cliche or whatnot, but to honestly know within your heart, like it truly was not your fault. And so I had to work on that. I went to therapist and all of that, which I do recommend. People going out here to get the therapy that you need when going through things like that, because not all the time can we talk to our parents about the things that we're experiencing, especially in high school. That's the age where hormones, we're not trying to talk to our parents about the things that we should have. And I wish that it was a lot of things that I wish I was able to sit down and talk to my parents about, about the things that I was experiencing. But one of the difficult things is, as we talked about, when you're growing up and parenting of strict households, is that you don't always feel comfortable, just to be honest, to talk about things.
Yeah.
You don't. You don't feel like you have that space to talk about the things that you need to talk about. And so during that process, I felt like I couldn't trust anybody. So when I got to college, and meeting people, most people tell you when they first met me at college, I was a different person. And I'm not going to say I was a good person. I'm going to say I was kind of nasty. I was kind of nasty because I felt, for one, I couldn't trust people, and I couldn't, I didn't want to develop friendships with people. I really didn't. I really didn't want to develop friendships with people because I felt like I couldn't trust anybody. So when I met people like Leslie and other people, they were truly a breath of fresh air, because it was like, okay, these people might be genuine people. And even during college, I don't think I ever talked about this situation, even in college, because I just wanted to leave it far behind me. I didn't want it to be something that I continued to talk about during that time. And so even today, so this is actually my first time publicly.
That's why I was like, whoa, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I just had no idea. I just want to click on this real quick. So Amy is a teacher like me. We both teach high school.
Yeah.
And so Amy had just posted here, which is something I wish I could show here, which I didn't even think to pull the video up. But there's a video that we show our students, and it's called the T video. And for those of you guys who have never seen it, definitely look this up on YouTube. It's called the T consent video, and it's something that we show our high school students so that they understand. We're gonna say it's corny, but it's good. It's a good way to explain what consent means. It
Absolutely.
breaks it down and it explains, like, basically if someone just because even if it gets to the point where somebody wanted to have sex today, next week doesn't mean, had sex last week doesn't mean they may not want to, and it's still no. So just because somebody wants tea today and wanted tea last week doesn't mean they want tea this week. And it's okay.
And some people don't want tea at all. Some people don't want no tea. They don't want no tea. They don't want no water, Kool-Aid, nothing of that sort. They just want to be.
Like, don't bring me no tea, no juice, no apple juice.
They just want to be. I was one of those people. I didn't want no tea. I didn't want no water, no nothing. I was just being, And so, and it's unfortunate because so a lot of times you see where people prey on certain individuals. And so I don't know if that was his case. I don't know if he knew that, I wasn't like everybody else and okay, this would be the right person to go after or whatever. But I will, like I go back to and say that as a teen, you will discover who your true supports are, and so and it was actually last year, the guy that I mentioned that would eat lunch with me. And it was like one of my two only friends. And so I actually sent him a message on Facebook because it was just laid on my heart one day to send him a message and just thank him. Thank him for being supportive during that time and all of those things. And so, and he told me, you're welcome. And it was what's supposed to be done. And so, and just dealing with genuine friends, and so, like I said, with, my best friend, Kelly, she's one of those people, she knows my situation. She's never, so so she's never judged me for that. She knew, just how hard people, came at me about the situation. And so to be able to find true, authentic people when you go through things is what's important. And sometimes it's not going to be those people that, that you're best friends with or you're most popular with. Like I said, when you go through things, you'll really find out who's there for you and who's loyal for you. So yeah.
No, I completely agree. And that's the thing, is what people don't understand is, as parents need to leave the door open. And I'm not talking about a physical, literal door. I'm talking about the conversation to be open, no judgment. Because if the young lady already thinks it's her fault, and then her parents don't provide that opportunity for her to talk about it, then it's like, well, if I can't talk about it with my parents to get a clear understanding and for my parents to understand and be able to help me figure this out, they may not feel comfortable or trustworthy enough. There may be a teacher, there may be a counselor, there may be somebody they can talk to, but most commonly, your parents are supposed to be your safe haven. And parents need to make that available to their children so they are aware of that fact. Like Kelly said here, parents used to be ready to knock our heads off. And for what? I still don't understand that. Growing up, it was like a hush hush. You didn't talk about sex. You didn't talk about kissing nobody. You didn't talk about nothing. And I wish I would have thought, like Kelly says here, my mom would have knocked my head off. And then she said, none of that conversation in this house. I was just having this conversation with someone yesterday. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It is, and I don't know if, because me being a parent now, I've had to talk to my daughter about some things that I'm like, oh Lord, and so she's only 8. But at the same time, to be able to have a parent where you can go to, and I think that sometimes we allow our past, and so I think for our parents, the way they were raised and the way they were brought up, and the things that were instilled into them spills off onto us,
Yeah.
So they're only teaching us with the tools that they have. But now is our time to use these tools effectively,
Yes.
as parents and as educators, as mentors, and all those things, to talk to our kids about what it is to be violated. And I want to talk about also that, not just girls are being sexually assaulted, y'all.
Mhm. Mhm.
Boys are at
Legit.
an even more alarming rate. Boys are being assaulted by females. So at
Mhm.
one time you saw this picture of just females being assaulted by men, but now that is switching up, especially in the high schools.
Mhm.
And I've just learned that recently over a couple of years of knowing some teenage boys who were assaulted by teenage girls. So we can't be afraid to have these conversations. I know we don't want to talk about it, but not having a conversation is what can be harmful sometimes too.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
true. And like Kelly is saying here, the kids are younger and younger.
Yeah.
Um, and it's crazy. Like the stuff that we see on a daily basis in high school is no joke. It is
Yeah.
insane. And
Yeah.
even the middle school level. Like when I taught middle school, I had sixth graders, sixth, seventh, and eighth graders having sex. The majority of the kids were in seventh and eighth grade, but you don't be surprised. There could be a sixth grader as well.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
like several kids, like their seventh and eighth grade year, were having sex. Like I had one student who came to high school with a what they call now body count of 3. He's already slept with 3 different people, and he's coming to the high school level. Well, the thing is though, is that they it's like something triggers in them even more so, like Kelly said, younger and younger. And
Mhm.
it's like, oh well, if you don't want it, I'm gonna take it type of thing.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. Because the thing about it is that we've gotten to this point, even still now today, even as females, when we walk outside the door, we feel like we have to put on turtlenecks, because the slightest skin we show, is being sexualized. And so
Legit.
I talk to my friends all the time about, when our kids see things on social media, TV, it's so over sexualized, it's crazy.
Everybody has to say
Everything from the toilet paper to the
legit.
tampons to the
Legit.
bras to the just food.
Mhm.
I saw a commercial for laundry detergent and I thought it was for something else.
Yeah.
So it's all these different things. And so I'm not saying that we can protect our children from everything, but we can do our best to instill things in them so that they can be prepared and willing to come to you and have those conversations.
It's so true.
Yeah. And so, and even when you get ready to go into relationships later on down the line, things like this can affect, how your relationships are.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Iris says here, my children know they can talk to me about anything. I didn't have that growing up.
Yeah.
Iris, I am right there with you. Like, I was scared to death to even mention this, that, or the other. And I couldn't even imagine like dealing with something on a sexual nature. Thank God that wasn't the case for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Even to this day, I'm like, well, who would I have gone to? Like, I probably would have told my friends.
Yeah.
But what was they gonna do? And kids are kids. They don't know no different. They'd be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Gwendolyn says, how do you explain to young teenagers that no means no?
I think that you really have to have that conversation with them, and sometimes do that role play. Set up a scenario for them. And the thing about nowadays is so dangerous that our young kids don't know the meaning of no,
Yeah.
because people are placing charges on kids.
Mhm.
For kids violating other kids, people are pressing charges, all kind of things. So you really have to explain to your teenagers that, just because she giggling, 1 minute and cooing and all this type of stuff, doesn't mean, she's ready for everything to go down.
Exactly.
And so you really have to understand there are consequences, behind, putting yourself off on someone when they don't want it, and
Exactly. It's so true.
yeah,
Gloria says here, growing up, I had so many other people's moms could step in. And that is so true, Gloria. Like
yeah,
being able to lean on someone else's mom, et cetera, et cetera. Amy says the commercials when we were young were so confusing. I don't remember dancing in a meadow full of wildflowers once a month. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But somehow it made our generation remember go out to buy tampons. Yeah. It's just so interesting. It's true. It's so true though. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Gloria says my mom was the type to talk to me about, but taught me how to be strong and survive. It was my grandma. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense when it comes to stuff like that. Like if you can't talk to your parent, a grandma, an aunt, anyway. And I say it again, and I'm so glad Amy brought it up because I was thinking the same thing. Watch the T video, like when Gwendolyn's question, like about how to explain to a young teenager that no means no. I promise y'all, look up the T consent video. It is so good.
Yeah, and you have to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you have to explain to your kids what is considered inappropriate, especially for my daughter. And most people who know me personally, she don't go nowhere without me pretty much. So,
yeah, I don't blame you.
for my own reasons, but also it's because I have to explain to her as well what's appropriate and what's not. Little boys rubbing up on your butt or your chest, inappropriate. You let somebody know immediately what's going on. And don't try to, have the tone with your kids to where they're afraid to talk to you. Like we talked about a little bit ago, I don't want her to be, okay, I can't go talk to my mama because she just gonna go crazy. You need to be level-headed when your kids actually take the time to come to you and talk to you about things so that they will keep coming. But if you give somebody that bad energy, guess what? They're gonna stop talking to you.
Yeah, for sure.
They're gonna close up. They're gonna go get their information elsewhere, and that's not what you want to do.
Exactly. And the thing is that, like how you were saying, you talk to your daughter and you tell her that these things, is unacceptable, not okay, whatever. Because here's the thing, y'all. I saw this on a show recently where the mom got really angry at her sister for sharing with the daughter because like her what ended up happening was her daughter was being like I don't want to say bullied at school. The boys were like teasing her and making fun of her, and then her sister said, oh, it's just because he likes you. That's not okay. That should, and the way she said it, I was like, that makes complete sense. She was angry because she said, never should you tell a young girl that a guy to signify that a guy loves you is through violence and abusing you.
Yeah,
like he's showing you he loves you because he's picking on you and he's hitting you, and I was like, boing, this light bulb went off in my head, like, whoa, that's kind of deep.
Yeah, because we're telling our little, we're telling our kids, because Tommy, punch you in the arm. Oh, it's just he likes you. He likes you. But what happens when she grows up and sees Big Tommy, and Big Tommy is really taking some serious blows on her, but she's still equating in her mind, well, Mama said that when Tommy hits me, he loves me, he likes me. So we keep dealing with that. So it cycles through things, and so at some point you have to break those cycles. And someone was asking me about relationships and how do you move forward with relationships when you have dealt with sexual assault. And so for me, my dating process, especially in college, was I'm just making friends. I ain't keeping nobody, just to be honest. I didn't want any solid relationships. Just because I felt like I didn't know what people wanted from me. And I felt like they would try to take too much from me. And so Leslie, remember those conversations of some of those people who came through. And so, but during that time, I think you go through a process of where you're really trying to find out love.
It's true.
Love and purpose. And I'm not equating that to going out here sleeping with the nation or doing some things you have no business, but sometimes people do take that spin. I talked to a girl recently where that was her thing. She slept with numerous guys, even though she had been sexually assaulted. from that, she just went on this rampage of just a wild lifestyle, and seeking that. And so, but for me, I didn't want any serious commitments. And so until I met my husband, and so and look, Leslie was like, I knew he was the real deal because, I
You
just
really want nothing to do with marriage
no,
and kids and nothing else.
no, none of that. And so, even with him, I'm thankful for him because, he helped me through that process. He helped me grow through that process
That's
of
amazing.
what I had experienced. Because, and I will tell people this: when you have been sexually assaulted, it's very, very sexually assaulted, raped, molested, what have you, is very necessary for you to have the conversation with your spouse, because there are triggers. There are triggers behind certain things. So, the way he may touch you, the way something he may say to you may come off as in a loving manner to him, but it's a trigger for you. So early on, before we got married, my husband had to recognize what my triggers were when it came to certain things like that. And so I actually had this book, this box, and I had wrote down the date that the sexual assault had happened and things of that nature. And so one of the sweetest things was we were in Georgia not too long after before we got engaged. And so we had a bonfire. And he said, I don't want you to have to deal with these things anymore. I don't want you to, keep going through it and reminding yourself of these things, because these things are of the past. And so we burnt the little box and all of that. And so I felt like, I was burning away that dead weight, that I had been carrying, and so yeah. And so, with him, he's understood over time, the conversations that we have and why I am the way I am. And so, yeah.
I love that. I love how you explain that because that makes complete sense. When you had said like about different triggers and things. So like once you've been sexually assaulted, it is essential to have those conversations with your spouse because then they don't understand like why you're acting different or why if I do this or that and the other. And if you're keeping it bottled in, that's already taking horrible baggage and horrible trauma into
Absolutely.
and damaging your fresh marriage.
Yeah.
So it is essential to share those things. Like you said, certain ways that he could touch you or this any other triggers that sexual assault. And I love that he took it upon himself to say, hey, you know what? Let's get rid of all this. Like let's I love that the bonfire. That was awesome. I love that. It's like a what does it say? A physical representation of something that's internal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's one of those things that like I said, a lot of times sexual assault can take people down different paths. Some people aren't able to speak. Some people took their lives because of things that have happened to them. Some people choose suicide because they can't deal with, some of the pressures that come along with dealing with situations like this. And so I'm not going to say that it's easy. I'm not going to say that it's something that you're going to get over quickly. But I will say if you put the effort towards it, and strive every day to make yourself better and make yourself grow out of it, it will get better,
That's awesome.
And we have to realize that our stories, even though that they may be very private, which I felt like mine was for years, but you never know whose healing comes out of your story.
It's so true.
Yeah.
That is what this whole thing was about. The story that built my story is because sharing your story could be like to somebody else. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who's been sexually assaulted. I'm not the only one who's beat herself up about this. I'm not the only one who's felt like it was always my fault or I should have done something differently. Like that's why it's essential to share our stories. Excuse me.
You're fine.
It helps you heal as well as it can trigger the healing process for somebody else. Wow, I literally just choked him. Sorry.
It's
Anyway, Kelly says we talk about all the things that are inappropriate, and letting us know when something is inappropriate has happened.
Yeah.
She also said we have to teach them to have healthy relationships, and this is
Absolutely.
in regards to the whole talking to your children.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
because and to that, because sometimes our kids are fed a bunch of nonsense when it comes to how relationships are so supposed to be. I mean, I know you're with the high schoolers, so they're in relationships and you wondering why, because of how they're treating each other.
yeah, and being
So
talked to, like,
yeah,
excuse you.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, so the way
Absolutely.
these guys talk to some of these girls, the way the girls talk to some of the guys, like, it's not okay. And then, like, here's the thing too, is a lot, and I'm just putting this out there, like, this is definitely something that needs to be addressed when it comes to the girls. Like, a lot of times the guys are taught, don't you put your hands on her, don't you put your hands on her. Well, then the girls are like slapping him and hitting him and this and the other. The healthy relationship goes both ways.
Absolutely.
No girl has no reason to be slapping. I'm telling you, like, they'll literally haul off and slap
Yeah.
their face, haul off and like punch him and this and the other, like, because he ain't gonna do nothing, because he ain't gonna put his hand on me. What? Like, this is not a healthy relationship. Like, and we're teaching our girls to, the whole women's lib movement, and I'm a huge feminist in that way. But when it comes to like women taking charge, okay, there's a limit though. Like, we ain't got no business putting our hands on nobody.
Right. And that's why we have to make sure that our relationships are healthy, so that that's the example that our kids see. A lot of times when kids go to, are in these relationships, sometimes they're picking up on other relationships that they're seeing around them, so a lot of times you have to break that, and you have to let them know, this is not the way to have a relationship. This is not, what a healthy relationship looks like.
No, that actually is a part of our curriculum. So I'm not sure if Amy's still watching, but that's part of our curriculum. So at the beginning of the year, in one of our classes, we teach them about like a part of our standards, our state standards, is to teach them about healthy relationships. And we go,
that's awesome.
A whole unit on healthy relationships. And so we explain to them. Yeah, there she is. Yeah, we explain to them and break it down to them what a healthy relationship is supposed to look like, how it's supposed to go down. We break it all down for them, so that they understand that. And then, of course, after that, you've told them, it's up to them what they do with the information. But I love the fact that we have the opportunity to pay it forward in that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why it's so important. And it goes back to what you were saying at the beginning of the show. When you're in these situations, talk to somebody about it. Find you a support system. And like I said, that support system may not look like your so-called friends at school. It may not even be your family, because some of your family may not even be there to support you, but find you some type of support to help you through the things that you experience. And don't be afraid to reach out and talk to people. I guess I'll never understand, with all the resources that we have out here, why people are still afraid to reach out to people and talk to them. And even for me, being a married woman, I have, other women that I talk to who are single. Some of them are married too. And we comparing notes like, girl, this is how I'm feeling today, and so just to be able to have those relationships with people definitely can go a long way.
Now, Nesiya, how did the sexual assault impact your self-esteem and your self-confidence?
I would say at the particular time, it definitely did a damper on my self-esteem. I probably at the time didn't, because that, in my teenage years, I consider myself a little fashionable. But probably after that happened, not so much. Now, yeah. It just depends. I do my best when I'm out here in these streets. I will say that. I do my best as far as my. A lot of people tell me I have a lot of confidence, which is interesting to me.
Yes, you do, girl. Yes, you do.
I've never considered myself to have a lot of confidence in my adulthood, but for people to be able to see that, it shows me that I am growing in that way. So it definitely did a damper on my self-confidence when I was younger. But as I said, as I, got older, that was something that I had to work through, because I had to learn to love parts of me, for myself. And I think that we get hung up on, of course, the looks and what people think you're supposed to look like. And that can take you down a long, dark road. So to
Oh
be
yeah, we
actually,
talked about that a few
yeah,
episodes back.
yeah, to actually be able to see yourself blowing like the butterfly. you know you have to take those steps, and some days it's not going to be easy. Like I say, there are days that I do think about the situation, because some things may trigger it. It may be a conversation that I'm hearing on a podcast. It may be somebody I'm interviewing that's sharing their own story, and so some things trigger it. But I'm learning to work through those things.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. It's just amazing. And the thing is, it's like, I love how you said that there's still some things, and like you said, that was at 14 years old, but there's still some things that could trigger it. And I
Yeah.
want people to understand that there's not some magic, like, boom, it's
Yeah.
gone. And now you're thinking about it no more, and everything's great, and everything's fantastic, and everything's awesome.
Yeah.
So these things it's a part of you. It was trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma doesn't go away. You get through it. You don't get over it. You do get through it.
And somebody's inboxing me on Facebook and asked me, have I seen my the guy who sexually assaulted me? So yes, I have. I've seen him on a few occasions. I actually ran into him one time when I was at the movies with my husband.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that was very
put me off guard.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I mean, it was no altercation, no, he pretty much like just put his head down and kind of walked away or whatnot. But I'm gonna tell y'all about growth. Growth in that is, years ago I probably would have been very fearful to be in his presence. But at that point, no, not at all. Well, like I say, it's grace, man. It's grace, and
Wow.
God definitely working in the midst, because a lot of people can, have hate, and all those things for people like that. I don't have any hate.
That's amazing.
But at the same time, I hope that people get an understanding for the things that they do and how they affect other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And hopefully he's a changed person, and maybe he was a stupid teenager. I don't know, but it's sad. Ugh. Yeah. Carolyn said, find your tribe. This is a recurring theme in this segment. And she's right. That has been like each week with each person that share their story. It's like, find your tribe, find your people that you can share and, and deal. And the thing is, it's like, sometimes like it does take therapy sometimes. But other times it just takes having a good support system, like finding your tribe, like Carolyn is saying here.
Absolutely.
Robin says, yes, one of the most confident people I know. Yes, I told you.
Yeah, I mean, like, I have people, like I said, I do. Robin is one of those. Kelly is one of those. I actually shared my story with Robin. I think Robin has known me a long time too. But I shared my story with her. I think like oh man, I want to say like 2 years ago. Yeah, she wasn't aware of it either.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like when you said that to me, I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna play it off until she explains, because I don't want her to think that I'm like, because I was like, wait, what now?
Yeah. It's just nothing, I think like once I got to college, I was just determined that, I wasn't gonna bring that into my new journey. And so even though, like I said, even though when I came, Nene was no joke, but Nesiya is a more oh man, I've definitely taken it down a couple notches. I can still get with you, but I definitely look at things from a different aspect now. Definitely. So yeah.
Well, Ness, before I let you go, part of the title was about not allowing your past to hinder your purpose.
Yeah.
Could you just say a little bit on to let people know whether it's sexual assault trauma, whether it's some other type of trauma, being abused as a child,
Yeah.
anything, any type of trauma to help, leave it in the past, but and not allow it to hinder their purpose. What could you say to that?
Yeah. I would say you define your purpose in life. I think a lot of times, the things that we have been through, sometimes we throw up our hands and we give up on ourselves. And you don't realize, and one of my church members always talks about being a blessing to other people and how your blessings are attached to somebody else. So the blessings I receive are attached to my daughter and so forth and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to remember that things are attached to you. So, as you grow and you become a better person, you're able to pour into other people so that they can become, better people. And so I think that don't allow, the traumas and the things that you have been through to dictate who you are or where you should be. A lot of people may tell you, oh, you should have been this, you should have been that, you should have been, having this type of job. Well, that wasn't your route. God sent you on a different journey, and that journey may have been really bumpy. It may have took you through some dark times, but for you to come on the other side and see the brightness and the light that shines into you is the most important thing. So you have to know, you got to flutter, baby. You got to be a butterfly. You got to flutter.
Legit. So, guys, I put her information down here. You definitely want to tune into her radio show, the Beautiful Butterfly Radio Show. So find Nesiya, aka B Fly, on social media. Check out her radio show, the Beautiful Butterfly Radio Show. And Ness, if you don't mind, like going to the comments when we're done and letting people be able to click on your page and like and follow. And if your Instagram or whatever else, your YouTube, so that people can catch your shows, because you definitely have a lot to share. So and she has some great guests, some great topics. You would truly enjoy your show. I try to catch it when I can. But as I'm sure Ness, as I had said with mine, they can also catch the replay, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yes, guys. So like I said, thank you all for joining us. Like without you guys coming, the show would be like a dud. I mean, no, it would be great to still share, but we're glad that we can be a blessing to people. And thank you, Sister Becky, for joining us. Yes, definitely go back and listen to the beginning. It was amazing. Like you definitely want to watch. And guys, for all of you who are, like I said, are just joining us towards the end, always catch the replay at www.lesliesaidwhat.com, or you can go to listen to it on any major podcast network or Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or any of the rest of them. There's so many of them, but I only put these two because they're the two main. Yeah. Share this with a friend. I know that a lot of times friends do not share openly if they have dealt with sexual assault or have been sexually assaulted, but definitely share this podcast with them. Share this episode with them, and let them know that they're not alone. Let them know that there is hope and there is a way that they can get to the point where their past will no longer hinder their purpose. Ness, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So gracious and so courageous and so brave in sharing your story.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. And I hope that, someone tonight can take something away from the show that inspires you, encourages you, motivates you to just live your life and live your life to the fullest. And so thank you for having me on your show. I definitely appreciate it and all that you do.
Well, I'm just so glad you're here. And see, guys, she's such a great personality. I'm so blessed that she's my friend. For sure. Good seeing you, Ness.
You too.
Okay, guys. So thank you again for joining us. We're so happy that Nesiya was able to be here. Another episode of Leslie Said What? Oh, by the way, before I end, I want to say that next week we're having Miss Gail Cooper. She's going to share her story. Gail has been through having breast cancer, her son dying, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of that, in which I'm not going to share it all. She has been through so much loss, okay, but she's not lost. So her title for next week is Gail's Story. Lots of loss, but not lost. So it's going to be a good one. Tune in next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. All right, guys, another episode of Leslie Said What is out.